up? It's Naya like papaya. And in this week's video, I want to talk about things that I personally wish I would have known before beginning my practice in witchcraft. Witchcraft in and of itself is somewhat complex and very personal in terms of how people practice. So you could ask a million different witches, you know, how they practice, how they do things, and you would get a million different answers. And I feel like there are so many connotations and perceived ideas on what witches are supposed to be, what they're supposed to look like, how they're supposed to practice, when you're supposed to do this, when you're supposed to do that, what you should buy. And it can be a lot, especially for someone who is just starting out on their path. That being said, I want to share a few tips or words of advice to help those who are, you know, just starting out on their path, those who are thinking about it, or those who are new to the journey in general. And I actually think a few of the things that I mentioned are a really good segue into my first point, which is there is no right way to start your practice. There is no perfect way, there is no how-to guide on how to become a witch. If you're interested, if you're here, then you're already taking the first steps, I promise. And everything that you do is gonna be very personal to your practice, and while there are like general things and tips and tricks that people will give you, ultimately it is up to you to decide whatever direction you wanna take with your personal journey. The best way to start on your path is to start with things that you're interested in and start with things that you're drawn to and kind of follow that. I know one of the biggest things people think is you have to like look the part, but there is no aesthetic. You don't have to look a certain way. I love pink, I love pastels if you can't tell. And there is absolutely nothing you need to change about yourself in order to start your practice within witchcraft. Moving on, I think it's also really important to mention that not everyone will agree with you on your path. As I previously mentioned, you can ask several witches their opinion on one topic and you can get back several different answers. Not everyone will agree with everything or every particular part or piece or way you do things on your path or your connection to certain like deities or energies or ancestors. And it's important to recognize that people do things in their own way. There's a lot of personal experience that goes into why a person does a certain thing a certain way on their path. And that's just in the witchcraft community. And that's even if you plan on, you know, working with or being in a community with other witches. You might choose to completely be solitary and just not deal with anyone at all. And that's fine too. You don't have to be in a coven, you don't have to work with anyone. Some witches prefer to practice in solitude and be solitary witches. Things you might find that in your personal life, people may also not agree with your choice to practice witchcraft. Historically speaking, we all know that generally witchcraft is something that has been frowned upon. Still very true for some people depending on what parts of the world you're in, what cultures, what religions you may be associated with. It's very likely that there may be a point in your path where you come across someone that disagrees with your practice or general choices in deciding to be a witch. And I guess my tip upon a tip for dealing with a situation such as that, whether in the witchcraft community or in your personal life, is sometimes it's better just not to put your energy into people who disagree with choices that you make in life, just because everyone's choices in life will be different. In general, people in life will sometimes just not agree with everything that you're doing, whether it's children, whether it's work, career, job, whatever. It's more so about keeping your own peace and finding happiness. And as long as you're not rightfully hurting anyone within your practice, as long as you're not offending other cultures or close practices and religions, people's opinions of you don't matter. Just remember that the focus of your path is centralized around you, your spiritual growth, your happiness, and what works best for you. Next up, I wish I would have known how much self-care plays a part in my practice, self-care and self-love. There is so much that you will learn about yourself over the course of your practice and path, a ton of deep inner healing, and a lot of personal development. So I wish I would have known how much of a big part that would have played in my practice. If you're doing things like shadow work where you're purposely trying to dig deeper into your unconscious psyche, that can be really difficult. It can be really distressing. It can be really difficult to learn certain things about yourself. And uncovering traumas, learning more about this alternate side of yourself. Not only that, but if you're planning on doing spell work, working with your psychic abilities, divination, that can really take a toll on your energy levels. I remember feeling so drained during my first couple of tarot readings, just for myself. So I wish I would have known how important self-care, doing things such as like grounding, centering, and utilizing self-love for my healing practices. I feel like a lot of your path can also be learning to take back your energy. And sometimes that can involve cutting out toxic people or toxic things from your life. And that can have an effect on you mentally as well. So I really wish I would have known how much to stress just learning how to take care of myself and learning how to provide love and care for myself in a way that works for me was important to my path. Whether that's physically taking care of myself, emotionally taking care of myself, cutting out destructive habits, things like that. I wish I would have known how much work was actually gonna go into that portion of my practice. I also really wish I would have known how important it is to accept failures. Your practice will ultimately be a continuous learning experience. Learning is something that's always going to happen. Knowledge, you're going to be continuously gaining it, studying, gathering more wisdom. And so that being said, you are going to make a lot of mistakes. There are going to be things that backfire or just straight up don't work out in the end. And with every mistake you make, you will find yourself being able to build off of that, to build a stronger foundation of what you know will work for you. Whether that's spells, whether that's intuitive abilities, whether it's even what type of materials you like to use, failure will 100% be your best teacher in this practice. And that in and of itself, I think, leads really nicely into my final point, which is there is no rush to your practice. Witchcraft is a journey, right? And so this is a journey that you'll be on your entire life. There is no need to rush your way through it. I know when you're first starting out, it can feel like there's like so many things to learn. There's so many correspondences, symbols, topics, subjects, areas that you can like dive deeper into. And if there's one thing I stress out of this entire video, it's that there's no need to rush. You absolutely 100% have your whole life to learn everything and anything that you want to learn. Witchcraft is just that. It's a craft. It's a practice. It's something you are going to get better at with time. Through failure, through experimentation, you are going to find out what works best for you and what works best with your practice. And as you grow and sort of change throughout this process, you're actually going to find that your practice in and of itself will evolve as well along with you. Remember to be flexible, remember to be willing to adapt, and be open to things that come along your way on this journey. But yeah, that is just my personal take on like a couple of things I wish I would have known. I hope some of these points were able to provide you perspective on like different parts of your practice and what it may look like for you. I really enjoyed making this video, so I think I'm gonna keep with the theme of doing beginner-friendly videos. So I think I'm going to dive a little bit more deeper into tips and tricks for beginner witches or people on their spiritual journey, and work on videos that are focusing on the basics of witchcraft and different areas that you can focus on. As per usual, these videos will be uploaded every Sunday at noon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all the support. You guys can connect with me on socials below, but I'll see you guys next week.